So there's been a lot of videos from quite sizable YouTube channels about how they have been affected by YouTube's broken copyright system. But what about the little specks like me, people who are trying to get a start but just keep getting smacked down again and again by the system? Here's my example. My top 10 games I enjoyed in 2015 was claimed by Atlas. There's 10 other games praised in this list and not one of their company's copyright claimed me. How, in any way, is it fair that Atlas get all the revenue from that video? I even emailed Atlas PR to see if they could remove it, and as you can see, the cunt I was speaking to couldn't be arsed. I'm just a piece of chewing gum on the pavement to them. It hurts me as well because I love Atlas's output. Persona 3 and 4 are two of my favourite games. There's also my Metal Gear Solid 5 review, which wasn't very favourable. Again, copyright claimed. But this is Konami, so I'm not really surprised. But funny how those 10 out of 10 reviews from GameSpot and IGN didn't get claimed, isn't it? And my top 10 sexiest men in video games was claimed by Nintendo for having Luigi footage. Again, 9 other games in that list, and none of those companies claimed it. Okay, so they only have a small number of views each. You will say, well, what's the big deal then? You weren't probably less than 5 pence there. And yes, you're right. But think of all the tiny channels like mine. There's millions of them. And now imagine if Atlas could copyright strike just a few 100,000 of them. Do the math, and that's a lot of 5 pences going to these pricks. So why don't you appeal the claim? YouTube lets you do that, right? Yes, it does, but say if I dispute this Atlas claim, it doesn't go through to anyone at YouTube, it goes to Atlas, and they decide whether my footage is fair use. Okay, they may admit their mistake and remove the claim, but I don't want to take that risk, because what I imagine would happen is they would look at it and go, well, he only has 163 subs, what's he going to do about it? Take the cunt's money. And looking at those emails, I'm pretty sure that's what happened. And then I would receive a strike on my account, and as I'm sure you're aware, 3 strikes and your channel is gone. Now, not to be dramatic, but I worked fucking hard to get these 163 subs I have now, and I don't fancy doing it again. Let's take the best case scenario, and the claim does get removed. Well, there's no repercussions for Atlas, Konami, or Nintendo. They just get to carry on. They don't get limited on the amount of claims they can make, they don't get fined for abusing the system, nothing. Plus, the money they earned off my video up to the point of removal would not be returned to me. So basically, a lot of these companies see small videos like ours as free money. So what does the law say? Well, the law states that footage can be used if you're using it for critique, satire, news reporting, and teaching. So what I and many other people are doing is fine. But the clitting games industry doesn't see it that way because it's mostly heralded by a bunch of greedy, out-of-touch old fucks who would rather expand their own wealth and gain the monopoly on the market so they can silence any independent criticism and coverage, because that, dear viewer, is what they are truly scared of, and silencing any opinion, big or small, right or wrong, is bad for everyone, as it helps people make a more informed decision. Why do you think companies get so buddy-buddy with big YouTubers? Sony sending PewDiePie a birthday cake, PR companies sending swag bags to video game outlets, flying big gaming sites and YouTubers out to expensive hotels for review events. They want to sweeten them up, control them. And channels like us, they want to stamp out before we get big. Less criticism is good for them, especially when they already have lots of channels and websites in the palm of their hands. There's too many small channels to control, so they kill them off instead. And if we do slip the net and get big, the arse-licking emails will come. Having a monopoly on who says what is the wet dream of quite a few video game companies. I'm not saying I will ever get big, obviously that would be very egotistical, though I am fucking great. But you can bet the fuss that people are causing about fair use is scaring a lot of higher up people right now. A million tiny voices can have a world-changing effect. Just imagine, if you will, Sony or Microsoft or one of these big companies were responsible for getting PewDiePie's, or any big, and I mean big, YouTuber's channel taken down. Imagine the outcry that would receive. It would be a huge stain on the company, and tastemakers like Pewds would make them suffer. But me and many others don't have that luxury. We would be gone and forgotten about in a week, and there'd be no repercussions for the company that erased us. This is why people like Pewds are protected from the system, because they make YouTube and some video game companies a lot of money. Sure, huge YouTube channels won't always be sweetened by these companies, and they are very honest about it, which is great. I mean, if I was PewDiePie, Sony could send me all the birthday cake they want. And I should say, I have nothing against him, he just makes a good example for what I'm saying. But it does get suspicious when you see YouTubers that seem to be honest, like Angry Joe, Booghead, Jim Sterling, and Total Biscuit, get copyright strikes because they aren't doing what these companies want them to do, i.e. sucking them off. I know my opinion might seem a bit wacky wacky and conspiracy nut, but it's honestly why I think this copyright system is being abused. Like a lot of policies and systems in our society, it's used to keep the small people small and the big people big. Like I said, a million tiny voices like our small YouTube channels can have a big effect, just as much as a few big voices. So please spread the word, big or small. I'm Metal Gear Glenn, and where is the fair use?